welcome to another edition of Chairman Chats. I'm Jack Jovan, Chairman of the Southbridge Town Council. I'm very happy today to have one of my colleagues on Town Council, David Adams, join me here in the studio. Welcome, David.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it.
So Dave Adams is here today to talk not about council stuff, but to talk about other roles that he has in town. He's a very busy individual in town. We thank him for all the service that he does. It's been a great, valuable asset to us on the council as well. But we're here to talk today about the Veterans Council. And you recently became the president of the Veterans Council, so we were here to talk about that. So again, welcome. And why don't you start off first on, you are a veteran yourself, correct?
Correct, I am. I spent 26 years in the United States Marine Corps, served over in Iraq and a few other deployments throughout my time, and ended up over at Chicopee, and I retired from that point on. But it was I'd never been to the New England area, and then I fell in love with a young lady from Southbridge and bought a house here, and you know, almost 11 years later, here I am.
So 11 years in Southbridge, you've been on town council for 2, and really have gotten involved in the veterans affairs here in town, not only on Veterans Council, but also the VFW, correct?
VFW, I'm the post commander there, and we're currently trying to rebuild that. COVID kind of slowed things down in both aspects, but it was it's coming back now that we're meeting again on a regular basis. So.
That's great. So the Veterans Council, what is a Veterans Council?
So when I got involved in the Veterans Council about 3 years ago and found out that they do the Memorial Day Parade here in town. And it was something that I just kind of got involved with because I became a VFW member. And they voted me in as the Sergeant of Arms, maybe because I was young and trying to rework the Veterans Council. And the whole purpose behind the Veterans Council is to support the Southbridge veterans within town, to work closely with the town council, the town manager, and anybody else that wants to participate or help with veterans issues. And it just doesn't have to be through the VA system, but I work closely with the veteran service officer here in town, Keith Roberts, who is doing an amazing job for us right now as far as veterans and for the town in general. And we like I said, we work closely with the town council to get things done, not just for veterans, to some veterans that may need some help, but also, if you notice at the Rotary, we put lights on the flagpole so we could fly the American flag 24/7. We did the same thing over at the Honor Roll and the World War I monument right by the fire station. And so it's to make sure that we still remember the veterans here in town, even though they don't wear the uniform anymore.
So how long has the Veterans Council been in existence here in Southbridge?
God, probably 30, 40 years, way before my time. I know Mr. Trumbley, who just retired as the Veteran Service Officer in town, he's been their Secretary and Treasurer for many years until last year, and it probably goes back to the 60s, if I'm not mistaken.
So how many members do you have on the Veterans Council?
So the Veterans Council right now, we're in a rebuilding stage, and because we're in a rebuilding stage, we have about 10 members that show up on a regular basis. We do have some members that have, or I shouldn't say members, some veterans that are interested in it. We had to change the bylaw. The bylaws were so old for the Veterans Council, those bylaws still had a World War I post here in town. Franco-American, Italian-American posts, and those no longer exist. I'm not really sure about the American Legion here in town anymore, and really the only post left is the Veterans of Foreign War, VFW here, and we're currently trying to rebuild it. With the old bylaws, it had to be delegates from each post, and so you can only have 3 delegates from each post. Well, all those posts are gone now, right. So it didn't make any sense continuing to do what we're doing because it was dying. And that's what ends up happening. And just last month, we changed the bylaw completely, kept some of the good things that were in there, and changed it to any veteran, which is defined by the state of Massachusetts, can be voted in as a veteran or a member of the Veterans Council. Even veterans that live in maybe Sturbridge or Charlton, but they have a close relationship with the town of Southbridge, can actually take part by a 2/3 vote that we change it to. So we're welcoming them in at this point, and we're starting to put it on social media, and then we're doing the interview like this. And now,
what's the definition of a veteran?
So one that served his or her country honorably. So it's very interesting because some discharges will take that veteran status away, like a bad conduct discharge for doing something usually pretty bad to get a bad conduct discharge. But the state of Massachusetts defines it as anybody that's served honorably, and that includes National Guard. Veteran doesn't, on the active reserve side, you don't become a veteran until you actually discharge. On the National Guard side, it's based on where you've been. There's particulars to it, and I can't rattle them all off at this point in time, not on the top of my head, but I will say that it's defined by Massachusetts general law as serving your country honorably, and that includes National Guard and all those other units.
So what kind of programs are you working to, outreach, to get individuals that, and I'm sure the town has a lot of veterans that we don't even know are veterans, that serve quietly,
right,
have done their time, they leave the service, and we thank them all for their service. How are you reaching out to them to try to see if they're interested and bring them into the council or program?
Well, first of all, word of mouth, showing that we're making changes to conform to today's standards. Now, so we want to push that out. We went through social media. We're doing that through, obviously, cable access that we're doing right now, and then showing those veterans and trying to bring them in that never wanted to be part of a particular post, like a VFW or a Marine Corps League or something like that. They didn't want to be, because there's certain criteria for it. So we loosened up those bylaws within our own council to welcome any veteran in there, as I said earlier, is defined by the Mass General Law. Again, word of mouth. When they see us do the Memorial Day ceremony during the height of COVID, that brings people in, and that has brought some members in. When we do the flags on Memorial Day, a couple days before Memorial Day, we outpouring of veterans that showed up, and besides family members in the community, you know. And so when they see the flags flying, they find out who it is. And I get a lot of phone calls just from town employees because a veteran is talking about it. The veterans count, you know, to reach out is also take a look at the veterans room downstairs in the town hall, where the VFW has redone that room to show the pride and the veterans of Southbridge. So there's a lot of things, and again, talking on town council, just getting your name out there and getting the word out there, the good things that we're doing. Veteran service officer, when veterans come in to have a conversation, or let's say an active duty guy like I did, I went in and I saw Mr. Trumbley before I retired. He gave me the insight of the VA system, the claim system, how it all works. And we're working with Mr. Roberts to do the same thing. They come in, hey, we have a Veterans Council here. Would you like to join? It doesn't cost any money whatsoever, but you can have a vote on, say, what we're doing here for our town to remember the veterans that have served here since the beginning of Southbridge.
Yeah. So you just mentioned the veterans room downstairs, and I know you had a big part of doing that room, and thank you very much, because it is a beautiful room, because you know, the VFW post did close, and you didn't want to lose that piece of history. Some of the items that you have in there are very nice. What were some of the things that you brought over from the VFW?
Wow, it was, well, the post is still active. It's been struggling a little bit with the COVID, but we've got a stable membership and officers right now, and we're trying. And the hard thing about being a VFW member is that you have to be in certain locations throughout the world and participate in certain campaigns or expeditionary forces. So some of those things, well, the VFW building actually was sold before I even showed up. And what I did, I took all the VFW's memorabilia that was there at the time, and I put it in my basement, and then categorized everything, cataloged everything, and then thinking that the VFW itself would close down or turn in our charter. We decided to donate $13,000, I think it's $13,100 to the town of Southbridge to remodel the veterans room. And so what we did was we brought them in, we went to different stores and got everything reframed. We took things that probably people hadn't seen before and put them in the veterans room. Now we have, I think it's almost 400 pictures that rotate every day, starting I think at 8 in the morning and shutting down at 9 on a digital frame. And a lot of veterans actually came in there and gave me some of their stuff. I still have flags from World War I sitting in my basement from families that didn't know what to do with it. So I've kind of just taken them in and do what I can for them, and still remember what all these men and women have done for our country and for our town.
So that was a great project on behalf of them. We thank you for preserving that history, because history is important.
Very much so.
As we hear very many times
history is important, yeah.
That you got to know your history.
Got to know your history.
So that's a project that you undertook on behalf of the VFW and veterans.
Right.
What are some of the projects you mentioned? I know you came to the council the other night on some of the projects that you talked about, and you've also been very instrumental, and I can tell that Veterans Services, Veterans Affairs, and vets are very important to you. And preserving that history. I think you were a history major too,
I am
right?
a history major, yes.
So,
I have a master's in that, yeah.
Yep, so history is important to us all, and we want to preserve it. Some of the monuments in town, you've undertaken a project with that as well, correct?
Correct, and with your help and the town council a couple of years ago, we actually found a bylaw that had never been enacted in the town of Southbridge, but it's a mass general law, and it's called the Trustees, Soldiers, Sailors, Marines, Airmen Memorials Board, very, very long. And they're responsible for all the monuments, veterans monuments within a town. So we stood that up, put in our bylaws. We do now have a board. So we have, right now, currently we have 4, it takes three veterans and 2 non-veterans to be part of this board. And right now there's 4. There's other particulars that we got to deal with to make it 5, but so their responsibility is to take care of the veterans monuments throughout town, but the Veterans Council is there to support them, be a conduit per se, to being a not-for-profit organization to help them and the town out with these monuments through donations, fundraisers, physical work to clean things up. So, and we had the other night, I appreciate you allowing me to present on behalf of the Veterans Council some of the things that we're doing. First of all, we have Veterans Day coming up, and I know we're in the height of, again, maybe a second wave of COVID, but we want to do a Veterans Day ceremony, and we've got the thumbs up to do it. So that's going to happen on the 11th of November at 11 a.m. in the morning, and we're going to have just a couple speakers, a little sound, and then we're going to live stream it through Facebook, and we're also going to have cable access show up as well to videotape it. We're going to lay a wreath there, and we're asking the public. It blew me away on Memorial Day because how many people just stopped on the street, and we're very respectful for everything. But we ask the public to, if you want to come, I can't really stop you, but we ask you to you can watch it from Facebook Live, you can watch it at cable access. We ask you to social distance, we ask you to follow the state regulations so nobody gets sick from this pandemic. And so that's one thing that we're doing, and I think it's going to turn out really well, and we're going to ask you to be there as well, because I am, as the Veterans Council president, I'm going to ask the town council to put on the agenda for November 2nd to make the town of Southbridge a Purple Heart community. It doesn't cost the town any money. It's already paid for. It's all taken care of, and all we're doing is showing those few vets out there that are Purple Heart recipients. They're not winners of it. They're recipients of it because the action that happened to them. We want to recognize those individuals, those men and women that were wounded in action, and also the ones that are no longer with us because of combat action. And so I'm going to present a proclamation to the town of Southbridge to have the town council vote on it. And we've already had signs, and they'll be at the entrance of every, I would say 4 entrances here in the town of Southbridge. And this will be posted right underneath the new signs that we have coming into the town from Charlton, Woodstock, Sturbridge, and I'm trying to remember the other one. Dudley, thank you, yes. So there'll be 4 signs out there, and this is from the Veterans Council. So town council, we're just asking to approve the proclamation. We have DPW put this up, and then we will maintain the signs if they were damaged or anything like that. And the state of Massachusetts will recognize this as well as a Purple Heart community. So we're looking forward to that. That's another thing that we're doing. And lastly, it's probably a big project. I've talked to quite a few people about this. The Veterans Council, along with the Trustees Memorials Board and the Town Council, are looking at redoing Dresser Memorial Park. And not to say we're moving monuments around, but we have all these little individual neighborhood monuments that were put throughout our town for a reason, probably because of the community or because of the neighborhood. And we're asking DPW to lift those up and take those away and store them for us. And we're going to remodel Dresser Memorial Park. We have hired a landscape architect to give us a conceptual design that we will present to the trustees and the Veterans Council so we can kind of critique it, change it up a little bit, and then have the company provide a better design. And then we would like to present it to the town council for your review and the residents of our community to critique, to add things, to make recommendations, which we really like. And we would like to put those small monuments within the memorial park. We're also planning on, and then the conceptual design, the hiker monument, because we have that TIF coming up, and all that road work's going to be done over there at Hook and Hamilton and Central Street. And also possibly one day having the World War I monument, if it was ever moved, we'd have a plan for that World War I monument to put it in the memorial park. And so a lot going on there. We're looking at picnic tables, gazebos, and it's all donations. We're not asking taxpayers to pay up anything. We will kick that off very soon. As soon as the conceptual design is thumbs up through the town council. And it's it's a big endeavor, but I know we can do it. This town will do it, the companies will do it, the residents will do it. There's no doubt in my mind. I have complete faith in this community.
No, there's a lot of people that do support veterans and support the town, and it's sounds like a fantastic plan because again, we have to preserve the history, and I think one of those monuments. I know my son at Memorial Day was a guest speaker as in high school, and I think he did something on the Battle of Belle Wood.
Battle of Belle Wood, yeah.
And there's a memorial here in town that I didn't even know about and wouldn't even know where to find it. Is that one of those that you're talking about?
Yeah, actually a lot of if you look at the neighborhood monuments, you'll notice they're all from World War I. They're the little tiny ones. And a lot of these that passed on or were killed in combat were from that battle in that area. The Argonne Forest out in France. And actually the Marines have a huge, actually the French had put a memorial and changed the Belleau Woods name to the Marines Forest. So a lot of those soldiers and Marines passed away in that fight. And it's not surprising because it was pretty bloody conflict at that point in time.
Yeah, but unfortunately, a lot of people in town don't know about that history. So to have a single place to go to learn about history and maybe have some learning boards, and we've talked about in town also having a walking. I think it was a walking tour of town, a walking.
Yeah, it was.
What they call that.
We have QR readers that they can actually take their phone and actually point it at it, and it'll give the history of the monument, and then maybe that individual that passed away, or just that individual with pictures and all that.
Right. But I think at the Southbridge Business Partners, we had talked about. They had talked about doing this kind of design to go throughout town, that you could have a walking tour to be able to do these things and walk through the AO complex with all the work they're doing there as well. It would be fantastic to be able to learn about history as you walk through town.
Because this town is full of history. It's amazing. I love, obviously you know that, I love history, but that's one of those applications that you can download and hopefully be able to do it. And hopefully the Southbridge Business Partners moves on with that. And hopefully we can look at that as well.
Well, fantastic. So a lot of things going on with veterans. We certainly are grateful for all the service, those that served now, in the past. As you know, my family member, my son is serving now, active duty in the Army, and and he's going to be a veteran one day.
He's going to be a veteran, yeah,
and,
he sure will be.
So we thank you all for that service. So November 11th, Veterans Day, social distancing as you did in Memorial Day.
Correct.
And if somebody wants to join the Veterans Council and become part of that group, how would you suggest they do that?
So they can call me directly. I have a social media page. My phone number is 405-249-6724. If you talk to Keith Roberts at the Veteran Service Office, he knows how to get a hold of me. Also, the Veterans Council has a social media page, which has gotten a lot of hits lately, and we try to keep that updated. And so they can get private message with me as well, and I will answer them as fast as possible. And we would like the veterans to come back out and help support this community in a way that may have not been happening prior. So.
Yeah. Well, we thank you for being here today here at Chairman Chats, and it's been an enjoyable experience, and I'm sure I'll have you back for these other projects that we're working on, and have you back in to present the plan once that conceptual design comes forward for the park. So thank you for being here today. Appreciate it. And anything else you want to add before?
Just want to say thank you for interviewing me today. I appreciate that a lot, and I appreciate the town council's support. And regardless if I'm on the town council or not, I know that town council will support the Veterans Council and causes, and obviously Southbridge community, because they have been nothing but open arms to us since we've done it, and it shows pride in our town and continues to work in a positive direction.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
So this has been another edition of Chairman Chats. Jack Jovan from the Southbridge Town Council. Again, thank you to Southbridge Cable TV in the studio here in Southbridge, and hope to see you soon.